All right, let's go. So we got our episode 14. We're making progress. We're doing tipping today.
Tipping.
Right? So tipping is one of those things that wherever you are in the world, it's a little different, right? Mm-hmm. So, first of all, where does the tip come from? We did a little searching on this before. You tell us. Where does tip come from? TIPS, tips.
To, what was the term, sir?
To ensure prompt service, right?
That's right.
And we were discussing it's tips. It's not taps. It's not to ensure prompt service. It's to ensure prompt service. So we did a quick search, and ensure means like to make sure it happens, right? Make sure you're getting prompt service. Insure is kind of like insuring, paying insurance to make sure you get good service, right? At first I thought it was like a misspelling and they used the wrong letter, but actually it kind of makes more sense to say insure. You're paying to insure, except it comes at the end of the meal. Yeah. So you got to like have your wad of bills out or something. If you're going to insure or ensure prompt service, you got to show them in advance that you're a tipper. And maybe that comes with going to the restaurant a lot and letting them know that you're the kind of person who tips a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not historically proven, but this is the best.
I know. I went to Snopes, and it said it's a myth, that it's not actually to ensure prompt service.
So I don't know it makes the most sense. Huh?
Yeah, but whatever it is, it's either to be nice to people who are doing good work for you, or to ensure that they're going to do good work for you, except the ensure part or the insure part doesn't make sense because it's not in advance.
Right.
Oh, no, it is in advance in a way. Because, it is. Because they know that a tip could be coming, right?
Yes.
So they know that it's customary in the U.S. to tip. And if they're really nice and they work really hard, they'll get a better tip. Right. So in a way, it does work to ensure or ensure prompt service.
Is the minimum 15%?
In my generation, it was like 13%.
Okay.
Now the minimum seems to be 15, and the standard seems to be 20 or even 25 at restaurants. I know. So, but anyway, in terms of tipping, so the whole tipping thing is different depending upon where you are, right? Mm-hmm. And also, not only where you are in the country, but where you are. Like if you're at an expensive restaurant or an inexpensive restaurant, maybe the percentages are the same, but certainly the amounts are different.
Yeah.
So I'm in Japan one day, and I'm in Tokyo, and I've got my bags, and I was an early traveler, as a young traveler, so I didn't know how to travel. I brought a garment bag. So I was going to be there for a week. I had meetings for like 4 days or 5 days, maybe 2 meetings a day for 5 days. I brought a garment bag with like 4 suits, right? And a whole shitload of shirts. Then I had my other bag. So I'm carrying a heavy load. I go into the hotel and I get my room, and a guy comes up and he goes, "Oh, let me help you carry your bags." Now, I don't have any yen. I don't have any US dollars. I don't have any cash. All I have are credit cards. And I'm embarrassed that I don't have any cash. So I say, no, I got it. And I'm walking far, by the way. For some reason, I'm like, 300 yards I have to walk. He's walking the whole way with me. And I'm struggling. I'm clearly struggling, right? And the guy says, sir, I'd be glad to help you. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And he goes, "Oh, do you know that in Japan, we have a no tipping culture?" Now, I didn't know that. Yeah. If I had known that, I would have given him a bag right away. But now I'm in a predicament. My predicament is I've already explained to him that I can do it myself. I don't want him to think, actually no, that the reason I wasn't giving him the bags is because I didn't want to tip the guy. So if I then say, "Oh, good, you have a no tipping culture, here you go." Now I've exposed myself that I was only not doing it because I didn't want to tip the guy. Yes. And by the way, it's not that I didn't want to, I didn't have any money, right? Yeah. Because that's like a problem, is that if you don't have cash, you can't tip, right? Yeah. You don't have you can't quickly Venmo them. You're not going to get their number. And by the way, in those days, there was no Venmo. But it's kind of like when you go to these resort areas. I used to go to these all-inclusive resorts with my wife and kids when I was married. Mm-hmm. And it's all-inclusive, right? That means show up with just shorts, sandals, and a T-shirt, eat, drink, and be merry, and you don't pay any more money. Right. But it's not actually true because you have to tip, right? And everybody's got their hand out for a tip, which means you have to have dollars with you wherever you go. Because you get a drink, tip. get food, tip. You're always tipping people. And it would drive me nuts because it totally killed my buzz. It's not that I'm against tipping them. It's that I don't want to carry cash around.
Yeah.
And I went to the lady at the desk after like 4 days of this. I said, is there some way I could just give you like $300? And I wear a bracelet that says I tipped, right? So when they come up to me, I just hold up my bracelet so they don't think I'm not going to tip them. I already did tip you. Check it out.
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass, right? Yeah. And there's no like little thing. Maybe there is now that you can just like bump your phone against their phone and they get a tip or something. But carrying money at those places is a pain in the ass. But anyway, getting back to tipping, right? What didn't you just tell me a story? You were at a bar recently?
This is like a nice contrast because I was in this bar in the party district of the city we live in, and I just, the drink was already $9, but tax is $10.
Right, and you're not a rich guy.
I'm a college student.
Right.
So I give the guy $1. I figured that's what he deserved because he didn't even talk to me.
He didn't? Wait, what do you mean he didn't talk to you?
He's just like, here you go. He just,
That was your whole relationship consisted of, can I get this drink? He grunted, got you the drink, dropped it in front of you and said, here you go. Yeah. That was your whole relationship. Yeah. And it was a $9 drink.
It was a $9
So you gave the guy a tip of like 11% or something, right? Because you gave him $1 at a $9 drink.
And then the guy next to him was his friend or the bouncer. I think he was the bouncer. And he was like, you're just giving him $1, dude? That's fucked up. I'm like, why?
He yelled at you for only giving him $1?
I said, the drink was already $9, dude. And he was just like, you could afford more, man. I'm like, I really don't want to. But it's like you're pressured to tip here.
Yeah, and he wasn't even nice, though.
It wasn't even good service.
Right, okay, go to that. What do you want from a wait staff to get a tip? What do you want from them?
I mean, if I'm, in a situation where I have to tip, I would at least want some type of personalized...
No. In a situation where you want to tip, right? Like, not that you have to tip, you want to tip.
Politeness.
Okay, you want to be polite.
Yeah, and I want some level of, particularly in a bartender, not so much a waiter or waitress, like some type of personalized experience.
Okay, to get it for a tip. Yeah. And that to me is worthy of a tip then, to you.
Yeah.
Because what I want at a restaurant is I want the food to come out promptly, right? Mm-hmm. All at the same time. Like if I'm with a group of 6 people, I don't want 5 people to get their meals and then one's waiting because then you're all sitting there, no one can start. Yeah. And then the person says, no, go ahead, just start eating. But then you're like, okay, but now you feel guilty.
No,
like every bite. Yeah. You're eating and they're just sitting there and they can't eat. And they feel bad because they're waiting and they don't want to hold you up, right?
And some guy's hungry is like, can I have a bite of that?
Yeah, right. So now I want it to come out at the same time. So prompt, come out fairly rapidly. Yeah. Whatever's the normal cadence of the place, right? Yeah. If you go to a place that takes a long time, well, then you know what you're getting into. But come out at the same time.
Yeah.
And then also be polite without being invasive. Like, I don't want them sitting down and joining us, right? Because we're here to get together with the people we're with. We want to talk to them. Yeah. So I don't want the lady or the man or whoever it is, getting super invasive, but I want them to be nice, polite and prompt and pop over once in a while and say, can I get you something? Yeah. Exactly. Right? Those to me, throughout the evening, they're giving us a good experience. I want to tip them. Yeah. And I want to tip them a lot. Like I want to tip them, I'm not saying $1 million, but I want to tip them more than is standard if they're really good, right?
Right.
Now, what about, by the way, off the subject, one of my pet peeves is when the manager comes up, right? It's like I'm sitting there having dinner with like 4 or 5 people that I'm out to have dinner with, right? And then the manager, who I don't know, comes over and you can see them coming. And they're like, big smile. They're walking toward them. I'm like, oh, no, don't interrupt. We're talking here. And they're like, oh, how's your dinner? How's everything? Just want to introduce myself. Like, I want to say, dude, could you leave us to our group? We're here to enjoy our group, okay? If we wanted to be in a bar setting, we'd be up at the bar. And then we'd be chatting with everybody. Yeah. And they come in and they interrupt you and they say, just wanted to make sure things are going well.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think...
You kind of like it, I think.
Well, if it's like a Greek guy, we go to a Greek diner, he's kind of like, he has broken English. How's it going? That's nice. That's kind of cool. But I can see your point. Sometimes the conversation...
So in the Greek, if it's a Greek guy with a broken accent, you're okay.
That's the only exception. If I'm having, what do you call it? Chicken souvlakis?
Yeah, there you go.
How is the souvlaki?
Yeah, so once I'm with my friends in college. You know how you're a college student, you don't have any money. I was a college student. I went to Fort Lauderdale for 17 days. I drove down with friends, drove back, right? It was a 22-hour drive, 22 and a half hours it took us. I had $170 for 17 days. I had exactly $10 a day, and I had to pay for a place to live.
Damn.
Oh, there was like 12 of us in one hotel room. In fact, it was so small, one of the guys had to lay with his legs outside in the hallway. We couldn't even shut the door. So, 'cause there was no room, right? But we had no money. So we go into places that are all you could eat and all you could drink for X amount of money. So in those days, it was like $8, all you could eat and drink. But what we didn't know is all you could eat and drink meant all you could eat and all you could drink. But if you don't tip, we're not going to give you any more, right? So there's a bunch of us at the end of the bar yelling out to get the bartender. He comes and serves us one round, no tips because we don't have any money. Didn't come back to us. He kept looking at us with anger, but he never came back to us. And one guy, hey, I thought it was all you could drink. And he yelled back, that is all you could drink because we didn't tip. So tipping is just part of our U.S. culture, right? It's almost like an added tax on a bill at a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm a tipping enthusiast at restaurants because I think people who work there work their asses off because I've been there. I was a busboy for like 6 months and they don't get any gratitude, right? Because everything that goes wrong with the food, you blame the waitress or waiter, even though the cooks are the ones that are cooking it.
Right.
They're the face of whatever problems there are.
Yeah.
They don't bring the food out on time. You know, you're getting pissed at them. They're eating a lot of customer frustration and they're working. I mean, you ever see how many plates they carry?
Yeah.
It's like a very physical job. So I like tipping them a lot because I feel like they don't make enough money.
Yeah.
And they're not paid enough.
It's constant as well.
Yeah, they're not paid enough of a base salary
Yeah.
or hourly rate. But here's the thing. It's kind of like false advertising, right?
It is, yeah.
You go in and you look at the menu and the price is like, an entree is like $25. It's not really $25. It's really $25 plus 20%, right? So it's really $30.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that it would be better if we don't tip, nobody tips, and the restaurant owner charges more and pays their people more. Because then at least we know how much. If it's a $30 meal versus $25, I get to see that right in front of me now. And then they pay the waitress or waiter more, right?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this before the podcast. You want to highlight some of the countries that...
Yeah. What are some of them?
Well, I know Japan and South Korea. You mentioned before Japan. Tipping is not customary. It's reflected in the salary.
So they pay their people a full wage.
You're not dependent on the tip.
Right.
I
Okay.
think Australia, too, we talked about.
Yeah, right.
23 an hour. Tip is not...
Right. Tip is not part of this. Not part of the equation, right? So then they're paying their people more.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what you're paying when you look at the menu.
Yeah.
And you don't have, because there's already tax, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have, in our area, sales tax, I think is 8.75%. Yeah. So if you pay for something that's $100, it's another $8.75. Then you have the wait staff. Now it's another $20. So a $100 price tag is actually $128.75, right? And if you're a young guy who doesn't have a lot of money because you're still in school, that could be a big impediment, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And look at you go out and you have this much money. You have this much money to go out with, right? And you're like holding on to every dollar. It's a valuable jewel to you, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to pay $9 for a drink.
Yeah.
Now you only have 10, right? So you give your one precious dollar left to the bartender. And what happens? His friend starts giving you shit.
I get ridiculed.
You get ridiculed, right? So you only have $10. It's a $9 drink, which, by the way, if you're in a big city, that'd probably be an $18 drink.
Yeah.
But in our city, a small city, $9 is a lot, right? So you only have $10. You get one drink, and you give your remaining dollar, and you get shit for it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, now, you know I'm a closet writer. I'm always writing books. And one book I wrote is called The Giving Revolution. You know, how regular people like us can contribute to the world, right? How we can make change to make this world better. And I have one chapter on tipping. And whether it's the the cleaning staff at the hotel, I always try to leave money for them because they don't make a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
And if they walk in and there's a $10 tip, they're like, hell yes, right?
Yeah.
Take it, stick it in your pocket. When you go to a waitress, I was at a restaurant this morning that I love called Marty's. And I didn't even eat. My kids called me and said, you want to meet us, which is code for, can you meet us and pay? Right? So I show up as they're already like 3/4 of the way through their meals, and I just got the bill, right? So, but I left a big tip because this person is hustling for my kids. I mean, they carry a shitload of plates out. I don't even know how they do it. I don't know. It must take a lot of practice, right?
Yeah.
They don't drop anything. And then if they do drop something, who knows? Maybe they have to pay for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I leave a big tip, right?
Yeah.
Because they need the money, right? Now, and I'm not a college student anymore. If I were a college student, I'd have a different attitude.
Right.
But there is one thing that drives me crazy,
Oh, no.
which is the tipping bully.
Oh,
Right?
yes.
The tipping bully drives me crazy. And you know what the tipping bully is, right?
The flip screen.
The flip screen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Starbucks and you pay. We just did a little research and we discovered that the average coffee price is $5.60,
Yeah,
right?
that's what my dad calls Starbucks $5.
Yeah, $5, right? Yeah.
$5.
So you're paying $5 for coffee, right? So you go in there and you buy your coffee for $5.60, but you can't pay yet because they flip the screen at you, and that's the tip screen, right? And then you get a choice of 15, 20, or 25%, or like 30%, or custom tip. So now you're a college kid, right? You save up your money, months of working hard, and you got your $6, right?
Yeah.
So you go in to get your $5.60 Starbucks. Then they flip the tipping screen at you. And you got to be like, wait a second. You didn't hustle out my food with like 8 plates on your arm and come back and say, hey, is everything good? You know, do you need anything else? And bring you the check. And then you give the thing and they take it up for you. And then if you need to take something else, they bring you the takeout things. A lot of times they'll put it into the takeout thing for you. Yeah. That's worthy of a tip. What do they do at Starbucks?
Here you go, thank you.
Yeah, if they even say thank you. All they do is they turn around, they fill your coffee, they turn it back to you, and now you got to give them a 20% tip.
You want anything else?
Yeah, right. I saw my buddy Sabatka, who was with us on our last video, our last show. He sends me this social media video where this kid from Starbucks is complaining, right? He's on his phone complaining. He's in the break room, and he goes, you know, this sucks that they don't just pay us a living wage, that they make us rely upon tips. That means we got to be nice to these customers. I hate these customers. They're a pain in the ass. Why should I have to be nice to get paid? And I'm like, dude, you don't even want to be nice to the customer. Yeah. All you have to really say is, can I take your order?
Yeah.
And then you say, yeah, can I get I don't know, what do they call it, a grande or something like that?
A grande espresso.
Yeah, whatever it is you order. And then they say, okay, they turn around and then they fix it and then they give it to you. And you pay with your credit card. And let's say that you commit heresy and you click no tip on the tipping bully screen. They know. They know.
Yeah.
And then they look at you, right? And they give you that look like, dude, seriously? I just turned around. I could have pulled a muscle. I turned around. I got the coffee that you paid for, and then I gave it to you. No tip? Seriously? And I was nice to you. I actually said thank you.
What if there's a skit where you order Starbucks and you click no tip and everybody in the store is like, no tip.
You know, right? Yeah. That's how you feel, right?
And the people behind you standing are like, he
didn't tip. He didn't tip. But then the skit goes on and it becomes a trend. And you're like, wait, we don't have to tip? Wait, we don't have to tip? We don't have to be bullied by these people? We can stand up for ourselves? We don't have to be bullied? So and it's the peer pressure thing. You know, it's like, no, you know, and by the way, I'm a tipping enthusiast. So it causes me great pain if I ever, on principle, because I won't be bullied, I click no tip. I take no pleasure in it. Yeah. It hurts me because I'm a tipper. I'm an enthusiast. I like to make people like, if you're working, I like you to be paid for it, especially if I have the extra money, right?
It's hard to justify this one, though. You know what I mean?
I know. So my favorite coffee place in the world is Tim Hortons, right? In fact, I go there all the time. They don't have a tipping screen.
Yeah.
And these people deserve some tips because they know everyone's name.
Yeah.
They treat you like gold, right?
Yeah.
In fact, one lady that I go there, I'm sitting over in the corner doing some work, drinking my green tea. She'll come over to my table with a cup of, hot water when I'm empty, and she'll pour it in and like give me a refill. That person deserves like a tip, right? And again, they remember people's names. They're nice to everybody, right? To me, they should have a tipping screen because I would be tipping them maxed out every time.
Yeah, that's what I
they
mean.
don't.
With the personalized experience.
Yeah, right? Now, it's rare though, because I've been to Tim Hortons at other places and the people don't know you and they're not like super nice, but at this particular place, they're really nice. Yeah, so the question is, should you tip? First, in the U.S., at a restaurant, 8 plates, hustling food out to you, coming back and checking on you to make sure that you're okay. Do you need anything else? Do you need more water? Can I get you anything else?
Yeah.
Should you tip?
Yes.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
You got to tip there.
Yeah.
What about the bully, the tipping screen? Flip forward, right?
That should be on.
Oh, it is optional.
But there shouldn't be such much stigma behind it,
Yeah.
I think we should get rid of that system. I don't like it.
I don't like the tipping screen.
Yeah.
In fact, what's funny? In the early days, before you were born, you left cash, right? Then the credit cards started coming out. So they had a line for where you could add your tip, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't like that.
No.
Because I felt like I was being bullied. Yeah. Like there's a price and then there's a line for your tip. And I'd say, damn, I want a tip, but you're forced. And by the way, I was only a young college guy. I didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. But I'm like, I feel like you're forcing me to tip because you got this line there. But I understand why, because people didn't pay with cash as much anymore.
It's a cashless thing, yeah.
But now with the tipping screen, it's like really right in your face.
Because you have this huge screen, you feel like you're just it's all on display for other people to see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's totally peer pressure to tip. And who's on the other side of that counter anyway? A lot of times they're college kids that live with their parents. Yeah. You're really tipping their parents, right? You're basically giving their parents money. Yeah. My daughters used to work at a golf club. They were bartenders. And they would come home some nights with like $500 in tips. Because if you'd have like an event, like police officers are notoriously great tippers if there's a young, pretty girl behind the bar. Firemen, great tippers, especially if they're in their mid-50s, right? And now they do get flirtatious and stuff, but they tip a lot. Yeah. My kids would come home with a ton of money. Now, to me, that was too much money for what they're doing, which is basically standing behind the bar giving drinks, right? Then you go to these diners where they got the 8 plates and the bill comes to $26 and people are tipping them even 20%, which is reasonable tip, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's $25 meal, it's a $5 tip, right? And I just feel like they did an awful lot of work for, now, if you had 8 plates, it wouldn't be a $25 meal because then you got more people. But I'll go there with Brandy. It's just the two of us. It's a $25 meal. And still, they're hustling over. They're bringing us stuff. They're taking care of us. They're being nice. They're being a little bit chit-chatty, but not invasive. And they got to get more money than $5,
Yeah.
And it's an hour you're there. You're there like an hour, 45 minutes, which means their table's taken up. So if they turn their tables like 4 times, then they're getting $20 from that table total. Just doesn't seem like a lot for somebody who's working hard.
Yeah, I feel like I like what you said about having a model where the salaries are guaranteed.
Yeah, what about that? What about an innovative new restaurant in Buffalo? Yeah. You go in and the whole thing is we do not take tips, right? We're going to show you the actual price on the menu. Yeah. And we're going to pay our servers, like essentially we're going to pay them a percentage of the meal. Okay? Yeah. So the price is not $25, it's $30. Yeah. It's 20% increase, right? Yeah. So we're going to pay the servers 20%. We're going to pay them that based upon how much they serve. So they're still getting tipped, but the tips are coming from the restaurant, not from the customers.
Because it's annoying after you end a meal. You're doing, you're like, what's 10% of 35? And you're doing high level math, and I came here to eat, not go to algebra. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah.
I agree with that, because at some point you're drunk already. You have a lot of drinks, you can't do math.
It's totally different with your age group and my age group. Right? Because in my age group we don't drink. But in your age group, you go out and you get hammered.
You get hammered at the dinner table.
Absolutely. So then you got to figure out math on top of it. I mean, you're having a hard enough time just not losing your phone. Right? you're having a hard enough time showing up back in your own bed with your phone, right?
My phone.
Yeah. And believe me, my kids are always going out, and I'm telling you, I was just at Marty's with 3 of the kids, and one of the kids, they had to go to like Cheektowaga because she lost her phone, right? It's in the Uber driver's car or something, right? So they left it in the Uber. So you're worried about keeping your phone. Now you got to do this complicated math to figure out what's 20% of like $52.80, right? Yeah. It's just too much for you at that point. It's too much. But what about that though? So you go into the restaurant and you see the price on the menu, and that's what you pay.
Exactly.
They'll make it clear right up front. We're jacking up all of our prices by 20%. And we're going to pay the tips to our wait staff. So the wait staff still has to hustle, and they have to be nice, because otherwise you won't go back there again, right?
Yeah.
You just say, oh, these people are mean, I'm not going back. And by the way, and on your way out, you can fill out a little card, if you want. Fill out a card on how good the waitress did for you. So now the waitresses, and they get bonuses, right?
Yeah.
So they get their 15% tip. But if they get good cards that say, friendly, nice, meal came out promptly, we all got our meal basically at the same time, then they get the 20%. They're in the bonus round.
Do like a little scale at the end of the receipt, 0 to 10.
Yeah. Because all you're doing is filling out.
You're doing one circle.
All you're doing is signing your name. You don't have to do any math. Yeah. None of your complicated math when you're drunk, right? One thing you have to do is sign your name, and then there's like a little thing at the bottom, and the waitress could say, "Oh, don't forget to fill out the little thing at the bottom. 1 through 5, how did I do?"
Yeah, great.
And they'll be like, "You did great. I'm gonna give you a 5 because you know what? You know how much a 5 costs me? Nothing.
Yeah,
it costs me nothing. Yeah. I'm already paying for the server, but what if they do a bad job? I could give them a 1. Then they only get 10%.
Yeah,
right. So then the restaurant is paying for they're charging us what they charge, and they're paying their employees, right? Which they should be doing.
It's totally anonymous, so no pressure. You can just be as brutal as you want.
Yeah, or as nice as you want.
As nice as
you want. And then so in our town, it'll be the one restaurant where there's no tipping. Oh, and if you go, hey, can I give you a tip? They'll be like, no, we don't take tips. No, just take it, take the tip. You're like, no, we will get fired if we take a tip. There's video cameras, right?
That's right.
We are not permitted to take tips. And by the way, we're going to give you great service without tipping. Right. And when the hostess takes you to the table, they say, remember, there's no tipping here.
Fantastic.
I love the idea, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go to that restaurant. So, Chris, when you open that restaurant, I'm going to it. I'd probably go anyway. I'll probably go anyway because you're the owner.
I'm going to be the owner that comes out and interrupts your...
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm okay with that if I know the owner, right? Like if I know it's Chris, you come out, hey, Tom, how's it going? I'll say, Chris, good to see you. Great food today. And then you'll still be standing. I'll be going, dude, you're still standing here.
I'll be like,
dude, go.
Can I join and you
yeah. No. Oh, by the way, remember Hooters? Oh, you might be too young.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
No, Hooters was a restaurant where they have, these attractive waitresses, and that was a big part of getting tips. But what they would often do is they would sit down at the table with like a bunch of guys, and they'd touch your arm and say, hey, so how's everything going? They've made connections, and that was part of their shtick. Yeah. Now, I haven't seen a Hooters anywhere in years, so I don't even know if they're still in business. But by the way, they had pretty good food too. Like they had great wings and great beef on whack. But they also had these really pretty waitresses that would come over and they'd connect with you. They'd make contact with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it worked for them. Personally, I don't want that in a restaurant.
It's not family friendly.
It's not, and also, you're here to enjoy your group. You know what I mean? You don't want somebody sitting with you. So, Chris, if you do own a restaurant, let me just tell you in advance, okay? I'm coming to it, definitely, because you have your no-tip program. And just charge me on the menu. Whatever it costs, I'll pay you.
Yeah.
And if you come out and say hello, I'll be happy to see you, but don't sit down, okay? And don't be too invasive with us, okay? Right? I'm here with Brandy. If it's the two of us, we'll talk to you for like 2 minutes. We'll give you 2 minutes, right?